On the show that cruises at warp factor 9, SF Scene proudly presents The Lost World. Yep, those dinosaurs are back, causing havoc in Spielberg's new Jurassic offering. Babylon 5's Claudia Christian pops in for a chat. The Caped Crusader is back with a whole bunch of new foes to fight, including Uma Thurman and brand new bad boy on the block, Arnie. Doctor Who footage never seen since 1966 appears in the latest Doctor Who video, The War Machines. And the two captains meet up again and talk to SF Scene about the computer game version of Star Trek Generations. Hello and welcome to the show which is famous throughout the galaxy for bringing you the best in sci-fi, horror and fantasy. And today's show is no exception. Later on in the programme we'll be
Star Trekking across the universe.
And we've got great prizes to give away too. But first it's time to teleport across to the news with Caroline.
Sci-fi and horror film enthusiasts will be thrilled to hear that Hammer Films are to remake some of their greatest classic movies. Top Hollywood names such as Martin Scorsese and Wes Craven are rumoured to have agreed to direct some of the early Hammer successes. First off the blocks is director Jean Debon of Speed fame, who'll be redoing the sci-fi epic The Day the Earth Caught Fire. Hammer's rise from the ashes coincides with a revival of interest in old-fashioned British horror. We spoke to business backer Neil Mendoza about the plans.
In a way, our partnership has come to breathe new life into Hammer, to resurrect it from the grave in some way, and not only to make new movies, but also to extend the brand of Hammer into the, into as much of the planet as we can foreseeably, possibly do, so that we'll make movies, we might even get involved in some theme parks, or we might do anything from a restaurant to computer games. But I think the main thrust of the whole thing will always be films.
And remember, you can see some of the great Hammer classics here on the Sci-Fi Channel. Check out the website and Dominion Teletext, page 225. One of London's most elusive theatre dates took place recently at the Three Mills Island Film Studios in the heart of the East End. It was a one-night-only performance of the 24-hour sci-fi play The Warp, and only the most ardent of fans will have found the location, which is exactly what SF Scene did, to talk to the play's exuberant director, Ken Campbell.
Theatre now is so disastrously awful. It's taken some wrong turning somewhere, hasn't it? I mean, you go along there, and you sit watching a show, and you think, Christ, I'd rather be sitting on a bench. The Warp is, in my mind, there's always a sensation. You know, I mean, getting on for 24 hours long, I never found any of that tedious, ever. When we did it before, I mean, several occasions people in the audience went mad.
Playing the evil and downright ugly Captain Macanudo in the movie Space Truckers was more than a bit of an ache in the face for Charles Dance, as SF Scene discovered.
I want to know what your cargo is. Who's the shipper and who's the consignee?
We don't know none of that.
You're going to kick yourself later.
It gets a bit later in the day when your skin is beginning to, you can feel it pulsating underneath this latex. And so then it gets taken off at the end of the day, but there are lots of soothing creams and things that are put on, and your skin recovers much faster than you think it's going to.
I wouldn't have to slice off your manly process.
And finally, plots on the moon are being sold on the internet for a bargain pound an acre by a group of schoolchildren. They set up a company called Moonscape when they discovered a loophole in the law regarding ownership of the moon. The plots are apparently going like there's no tomorrow.
Holy smoke! Guess who's back on the screen this summer with yet another facelift? So far he's looked like Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, and now George Clooney of ER and Dusk Till Dawn fame is donning the black cape to become the new Batman. Also returning as the boy wonder for the second time is Chris O'Donnell, and as usual there are a host of famous faces playing good and bad guys. Clueless Babe, Alicia Silverstone turns up as Batgirl, and Uma, Pulp Fiction Thurman, is Poison Ivy with the killer kiss. But playing a bad guy for the first time since The Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger turns up as Mr. Freeze.
There will come a time when Gotham City shall witness the ultimate conflict of justice and evil. That time has come. That time is now.
In his first appearance as the Caped Crusader, George Clooney's Batman, compared to the other two, has been described as the gentle one. Although rushing around filming ER at the same time as Batman, George's main concern was turning up in the Black Knight suit, still wearing a stethoscope.
I hate when people talk during the movie.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, commenting on his first outing as a baddie in over a decade, refers to his character, Mr. Freeze, as the Terminator meets the refrigerator. But how's this for cool? It's rumoured he got $25 million for his 6 weeks' work.
Chicks like you give women a bad name.
The film is directed by Joel Schumacher, who was responsible for Batman Forever, and it looks like ex-Batman director Tim Burton is about to sign on the dotted line to direct the new Superman movie. But how do the triumphant trio save Gotham City? Find out in a couple of weeks on SF Scene.
A freeze is coming.
On the next SF Scene, we've got an exclusive prize to give away in the shape of Doctor Who's TARDIS. More details next time. And talking of Doctor Who, coming up, footage that hasn't been seen since 1966 from the Time Lord's video vaults. We'll be boldly going where no computer game has gone before, and it's a rap attack. Those vicious dinosaurs are back.
SF Scene continues after the break.
As the captain of the Enterprise. Well, here's your chance with a brand new computer game based on the movie Star Trek Generations. SF Scene caught up with Kirk and Picard to find out if this game really takes you where no one has gone before. Engage.
The station is primarily a solar observatory used for advanced stellar dynamics studies of the Amargosa Sun.
Due to release this month is Star Trek Generations, the computer game, bringing back the captains of the Enterprise for one more adventure. The game allows you to take on the persona of one of the characters from the film, and it's your task to prevent the evil Dr. Soran from blowing up a star. But it was important to the cast that the game was authentic to the movie.
I would never have touched this with a 10-foot barge pole if I had not felt that it was going to be true to the original series that we had worked on, true to the fundamentals of what Star Trek represents, and of the very highest quality.
The game captures the essence of the program. More Klingons. There's a reason you Klingons could never kill me.
Enterprise, status. Number 1, we're reading life signs on all 3 decks.
As well as Kirk and Picard, the game features the voices of all the main cast from Generations, including Whoopi Goldberg and Malcolm McDowell.
Life is a series of chances. That is one I'm willing to take. If you've done the movie, you don't really want somebody else doing your voice, you know, because you created that character, and I'm sure, like, you don't want anybody else to play any of those parts because it would take away from the whole.
Captain, there is no need to set course to this system. We are already here.
We've disabled the Courage, a Klingon bird of prey. We know Soren's aboard, but we don't know what he's planning.
And where would the captain of the Enterprise be without his trusty crew, even if they are wearing a shirt brighter than a blast from a photon torpedo?
You like?
Very good.
Okay. As our technology improves for entertaining ourselves, I am certain that Star Trek will be one of those titles that keep expanding in the marketplace as our sophistication increases and enhances. There will be other ways to experience the Star Trek universe.
I think what we're doing here is the forerunner of what in time will become, probably not in my lifetime, but will become the holodeck.
Help Group 1, engage!
And staying on the Star Trek theme, later on we've got a bit of this.
Star trekking across the universe.
Slowly going forward, 'cause we can find reverse.
More of that later. Now, different writers have differing views of the future of mankind in outer space. Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek is very positive, with the human race being the ambassadors for the rest of the galaxy. My next guest is humanity's final hope, for she is Commander Susan Ivanova from Babylon 5, also known as Claudia Christian. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
It's lovely to be here.
You've just flown in, movie style, from Cannes.
Yes, and my arms are killing me. Oh, God, that's bad. Okay, yes, I just came in from Cannes. It was quite a trip.
And I know you've been promoting another kind of film, but you're just about to embark on a new Babylon movie, aren't you?
Yes, we're starting a new movie for TNT. It's takes place during season 4. It's a 2-hour full-length film.
Fantastic. What can we expect to see?
An incredible amount of fighting, and there's a new enemy on the horizon, and this enemy is unbelievable. There are new aliens, new monsters, new everything, and I get to spend a lot of time in my Star Fury kicking butt.
Fantastic. Did the storyline of the movie, does it continue where the series left off?
Absolutely not. No, it's a separate incident that occurred at some point during the 4th season, which would be year 2262, I guess it would be. Anybody out there that I'm wrong, please don't write to me that I'm wrong. You know, they always do that to me. Miss Christian, in episode 6, you were.
I mean, if I take you straight back to right back to the beginning, I mean, it was about 4 years ago, wasn't it, the Babylon 5 first started?
Yes.
And I know that you're the only character who's been in all the episodes.
Yes.
Bar one. You've been in
like
87 of the 88.
Well, I've been in 88. I filmed 88, but one of them they cut. I was only in one scene, and they moved that scene to the next episode. So technically, yes.
That's not fair, is it?
No. As a matter of fact, I had quite a conversation with Joe Straczynski about that because my batting average was 100%, so I wanted to be 100%. I was a little angry about it, but I really don't want to talk about that right now, okay?
Well, I tell you what I'd like to talk about then. Why don't you just compose yourself
yes,
there?
I'm sorry, yes.
When you first got the script,
yes.
when you first thought that you had the opportunity to be in the series, what was your initial response to it?
How much money are they willing to pay me? No,
Very similar to the question I asked myself when I asked me to do this show.
It's amazing how that works. Actually, I really wasn't involved with dedicating 5 years of my... I mean, I wasn't interested in saying, okay, 5 years of my life, here you go. But then I read the scripts and the writing was so exceptional, and here I am kissing Joe Straczynski. No, it really was. And the character was strong, and it wasn't your typical, you know, bimbo in control.
Yeah.
You know, she was the commander, for crying out loud. So.
Were you a sci-fi fan before you took up the role?
No, actually, I wasn't allowed television as a child, so I was...
Stop that.
No, I'm dead
I know
serious.
you come from California.
I was raised in Connecticut, Lockdraw, you know?
I've been there.
We read books back there.
It's true, they don't have TVs there. Were you seriously, you want a television
1 hour of
child?
television a week, and you want to hear the irony? Because I actually was only allowed to watch Little House on the Prairie, and now I'm starring with Melissa Gilbert's husband.
What about that episode?
She was in Little House on the Prairie.
What about the episode in Little House when the alien craft landed? You know,
there was no episode of the aliens. You're crazy. You're out of control.
Maybe I am. Did you think, when you started it, though, that you know, that it was going to be as successful as it's been?
Absolutely not. I had no idea what would happen. I thought maybe we'd run for a year or two, but I didn't. I had no idea that people would grab onto it so much. It obviously shows that there's room out there for more than just one view of the galaxy. You know,
What about the whole culture that surrounds a show like Babylon 5? Because I've been to a few of the conventions myself, and it's incredible.
It is amazing that people actually really want to shake your hand and meet you, and that they're so enthusiastic, and they're very...
I agree. It's stupid, isn't it?
You're never going to watch that again, I know that.
I haven't anyway, don't worry.
It's all right. Oh, great. Anyway, it's flattering, it's nice, and they're very humble and generous with their affections.
And what about fan mail? Do you receive loads of it?
Yes, actually I do. Men in jail and lesbians.
That's bizarre, because that's my batch as well.
I figured
We've got a lot in common here, haven't we?
We've got a lot in common. I love this guy.
What is, in all seriousness, what is, you know, the most bizarre bit of mail that you've received?
Women in the military seem to enjoy writing me about
discipline and...
Yes, discipline, you know, militaristic maneuvers that I should learn. No, they're very... I'm basically the poster child for them. I don't know.
I've seen you in barracks in the West Country. Do you think that Babylon 5 bridges the gap between the traditional sci-fi audience and the mainstream?
I think that we are noticing that there's definitely... that gap is closing. I don't know if Babylon 5 is the one responsible. I think X-Files and all these other shows certainly have something to do with them, Millennium, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that people are accepting this genre as a more, you know, regular genre now. It's like comedy, drama, sci-fi, you know, as opposed to before it was rather obscure, you know. It was just rather limited, actually.
Well, I'm sure your role in the forthcoming movie is not limited.
No, it's
Best
not.
of luck with it.
Thank you.
Have a nice journey back, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
For that smile. Great stuff. Now it's time to find out what's hot and what's not in the world of sci-fi. This week our guest reviewers take a look at X-Files, X-Men and Doctor Who, who's up against a computer bent on destroying the human race.
In the new X-Files movie, Tempus Fugit, Scully and Mulder are once more on the trail of Max Fugit, a character who was well known to the FBI sleuths for being an alien abductee on more than one occasion.
Tempest Fugit I would rate as one of the best of the released as movies products. Just a good old UFO, FBI, let's find out who did what story. It has a beginning, it has an end. There's none of the very frustrating loose plot threads one finds so often in the X-Files. At $14.99, I think most X-Files fans will find this a good spend indeed. As a standard X-Files movie, I would certainly give this a 9 out of 10.
When it comes to superheroes, you can't beat the variety of the X-Men. Our reviewers check out the fourth in a new series of reissues.
The X-Men's been used by a variety of very talented writers as a metaphor for racism, for exclusion, for minorities, for people that are just victims of prejudice.
These comics have absolutely nothing to say to anyone. They're just sort of teenage fantasy material. And there was too many words in it as well. I mean, if I was going to read a comic, I'd read a comic because there's lots of pictures and they're quite garish. But this one required you to read stuff.
I think the line collector's issue striped across the top is somewhat misleading. Children will go away and in my job as Forbidden Planet manager, I will have to tell them years down the line that this item is quite worthless in terms of collecting. It's a reprint from a slightly low point in the X-Men's history in terms of production values. One of the things that makes the X-Men comics so successful is the extreme high quality of the illustrations, and I'm afraid there's no example of this within this comic.
The essential X-Men, which isn't essential.
X-Men would have to get an 8 out of 10. This particular cycle of X-Men, 3 out of 10.
When it comes to sci-fi, Doctor Who is the most familiar and endearing character. SF Scene looked at a remastered series from the 1960s.
This was the story of a computer called Votan that takes over top scientists' minds and gets them to make these war machines. Bits of it have been missing for a while and it's all been pieced together by some bods at the BBC.
As a piece of TV history, quite magnificent. It's got a lovely Blue Peter introduction with Chris Trace. Once upon a time, actors stood in front of a camera live and did their lines.
Oh, that's very exciting.
It suffers as a consequence of that. The effects are non-existent. The flubs are there for all to see.
I got that pricking sensation. The sensation again, the same.
At $11.99, you can't go too far wrong under the pretext that this is television history.
Yes, it's truly remarkable.
Remember to watch SF Scene next time when we've got a limited edition TARDIS to give away. But coming up, having beaten the aliens, Jeff Goldblum is back, fending off the dinosaurs.
SF Scene continues after the break.
What I have to do on SF Scene is bring you clips of the big sci-fi movies before everyone else. Due for release this summer is Spielberg's latest Jurassic offering, The Lost World. Yet those dinosaurs are back, bigger, angrier and hungrier than ever before. Nah.
A British family on a yacht cruise stumbled upon Site B.
5 years after the disaster of Jurassic Park, those dinosaurs have managed to survive. The park's creator, John Hammond, once again played by Sir Richard Attenborough, kept a dark secret. He had another island full of dinosaurs.
Isn't it great?
Ooh, that's how it always starts. But then later there's running and screaming.
ID4 star Jeff Goldblum reprises his role as the skeptical Ian Malcolm. And yet again he comes face to face with the terrifying T-Rex. This time he has to stop the scientists from abducting the creatures from the island.
Send rescue immediately.
Taking dinosaurs off this island is the worst idea.
and history of bad ideas.
What is it?
Mommy's very angry.
Let's get this movable feast underway.
And continuing our homage to classic sci-fi video tracks, how about this one, which reached #1 in the mid-80s? It is, of course, Star Trekkin' by The Firm.
Life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Captain.
Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow.
Star trekking across the universe.
On the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Star trekking across the universe.
Slowly going forward, still can't find rebirth.
Great stuff, and we'll have another classic track next time. Now, how would you like to win all this lot? A whole collection of Star Wars goodies. And you never know, if you look after them, you could have something very valuable on your hands in the future. To win all this, all you've got to do is answer this question. Which Steven Spielberg film starred Richard Dreyfuss and Francois Truffaut? Was it A, E.T., B, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or C, Jurassic Park? If you know the answer, then ring, if you live in the UK, 0891 11 2001. And if you don't, ring 44990 200 505. But remember, if you're under 18, please ask permission from the person who pays the bill before you make that call. Well, the brief history of our little programme has almost come to an end. But before we go...
Next week on SF Scene, we get our teeth stuck into Tarantino's vampire shocker From Dusk Till Dawn, which is out on video soon.
What was the nuttiest thing I did, sir? I'm curious. Tell me, what was it?
It's another time, Richard.
I know. Was it possibly when your ass was rotting in jail and I broke it out? Was that the nuttiest thing? That was nutty, not to mention stupid.
And from flying bats to a space-hopping creature who wants to dominate the galaxy, we hitch a ride on the spaceship called Lex. And we've got Terry Pratchett's Discworld videos to give away.
That's it for this week, but before I go, remember, we shouldn't be asking ourselves if there is intelligent life in the universe, but rather, who's their favourite Spice Girl? See you next week.